All right, so you can take a seat or lie down, closing the eyes, opening the palms, and taking a few deep breaths. And then resting your awareness to the breath. And somehow I want to just start today by saying that it's so amazing that we are just human beings and that we can start to let go of and collapse wherever that is present in us, this more spiritual ways. There's nothing wrong with spiritual ways, but oftentimes these spiritual ways are ways of additional layers. And so I just want to say that I love that this time is not about that. And it sounds like a contradiction, maybe because I'm talking about the light and the presence and the possibility and the energy of creation and the potential. However, that is not an identity. That is a truth. And that truth is accessed through our humanity. And so there is no difference for someone that has experienced the truth and integrated it. There is zero difference between any human being or the other. You can only experience equality. And therefore this whole superior notion of the chosen ones, the this, the that, and all the side noise, it's just the egoic structure taking credit for something that people became aware of that is actually everybody's blessing, everybody's magic, everybody's gift. And so this essence that is in everything, that belongs to all of us, and that is everywhere, actually starts to reveal itself through our willingness to be a human being. And our willingness to be a human being is our willingness to rest in our design. And then what starts to happen is that all of the misunderstandings, all of the pain, all of what we kept in order to have this construct of identity into place, and in some cases on top of that, that spiritual identity into place, starts to energetically unwind. And then what you start to live as, breathe as, feel as, is this whole different, you can call it a different dimension, but you can also just call it like this peaceful, loving neutrality that you start to connect with, live from, and emanate. And the most beautiful thing is to just be yourself. So I got in contact with a profound sense of powerlessness the other day, and I would love to take you on that ride, because I feel that the energy of powerlessness is actually at the core of what every human being feels. So just taking a few deep breaths and starting to see if you can tap into that feeling of powerlessness. Because I know that on some level we have been made to believe that we can control things and influence things, but ultimately what life is showing us in the unique way that life is doing that for you is that we are not in control. And that actually there is this deep sadness that we can't influence reality, that we can't influence how people see us, that we can't influence what's happening at a global level, that we can't influence the stock markets, that we can't influence anything. And just starting to see where that resides within you. And just starting to meet that. And maybe first you meet fear or anger or whatever, but if you go to the most vulnerable expression underneath the fear of meeting yourself, underneath the rage of protecting yourself, you find the powerlessness of this feeling that I just can't do anything. I can't do anything about the world. I cannot do anything about how people in my life are unfolding. I cannot even do anything about what's coming up inside me. I am powerless. Now, the main thing, the main thing that allows this powerlessness to have been the beginning of this whole tower, that is our construct, our identity construct, our spiritual construct, if you have one, is actually that we have felt like something wasn't right to begin with. And that's also because we left the rightness of our essence. And that's a little bit this core wounding bit that we went into yesterday, but we left like the rightness, the fullness, the wholeness, the love, the safety, the feeling of being carried. And then we felt like, okay, so we have to influence things externally. We have to do something because there's all of a sudden a lack or something missing, or the fear of doing something wrong and failing and all of these lovely feelings. But then we start to realize that we can't actually influence the unfolding of life. And when you unwind that all the way, you feel a profound powerlessness. And that then translated into building either a persona that is a go-getter. I will show you I'm resentless, not resentless. I am relentless. I'm just going to, resilient is actually the word I was looking for. I am going to make things happen. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to prove that I have power. And then there is this sense of power, but it's actually not the power of creation. It's a power that you build while cutting yourself off from creation, because it's a lot of additionals that actually we don't need. And this is also why we feel so exhausted. Another way of responding to the presence of powerlessness is just giving up, not even bothering, just letting everything be. And it's a giving up, but it's not a benevolent giving up. It's not a surrender into the soul. It's a pain-based whatever kind of feeling. So getting in touch with which one of those two constructs. Your construct is based on one of two ways of coping with that powerlessness. Starting to become aware what that is for you. And then also starting to notice that we walk around afraid, essentially afraid to meet ourselves in relationship to life. Not so much life itself. I know we think so, but we are afraid to meet ourselves in relationship to life. Then when we sink into that, we start to bump against this harness, this construct, this hardness. And this is also the part where that is all so sad. I want you to realize that the problem you have with the world, with conflict, with fighting, with all of that, it is also because you've held that inside yourself. You've been harsh to yourself and with yourself, and you've built this harness around yourself as a means of protecting something that felt vulnerable and small. But then if we start to allow that to flow and get to the more soft place and space underneath that, there's really this powerlessness that we feel. And today we are going to be willing to experience that. Or we are going to resist experiencing that, which is then also a fine experience to have. But if you want to soften into yourself and meet it, I would love for you to recognize that meeting it actually is the doorway into authentic power. But we first have to get in touch with that place and space that feels small, that feels like it wants to influence life and it just can't. Connecting to that energy. And then starting to notice that if we can get to that point, then we can shift our energy into receiving the love that we are. To be with that smallest place that doesn't feel like it has any power, that is actually the place and space where you can start to receive the infinite power. Why? Because all of the shells, the frozenness of the fear is a shell, the running away quality is a shell with little legs, just running away. The rage is a shell. So if we unwind these shells, then we start to actually get to the core of, I actually don't know, and I actually feel completely powerless. And this part can start to receive the power that you are, the love that you are. So not trying to be better than that very small place and allowing that to receive love, or allowing that to receive energy, allowing that to receive from creation, connection, wholeness, enoughness, overflow. And as that is happening, as we are starting to rotate energetically this small place of powerlessness, which is an amazing place. I think it's underestimated how amazing of a place it is, because it's the place where you can start to receive, where you're stripped down, where you're with your knees on the floor and your hands up, and you don't have the answers and you don't know, and everything collapses. And you can't have it your way, and no matter how hard you tried, you weren't liked, you weren't seen, you weren't successful, or whatever that is. And then you get in touch with that powerlessness, and this is where you let infinite power take over. So starting to see that you can notice that the moment that you really meet this core powerlessness, it's a place where you allow, finally, infinite power to take over. Not that infinite power wasn't always the one that was expressing and moving reality, but you weren't pushing against it anymore, frozen in the presence of things anymore, or trying to run away from things, just distracting yourself, making yourself super busy. All of that was in place to not meet the powerlessness. And yet meeting the powerlessness is nothing more but saying, hey, in my finite form, I don't know, I don't have a clue, I can't actually manifest. And you allow the greater power to be in your awareness. And that greater power is love. So starting to connect to it and starting to allow your form to be filled with that love. And that love can be feeling just like a movement of energy that is actually quite joyous. It can be that you feel like you are received and it has like a neutral, calm feeling, a spacious feeling. It can also be that it has like a warmth to it. But starting to receive the infinite that loves you, that loves all of us, that is you, that is all of us, and that is lovingly arranging life so that every form can be bent to its knees, meeting the powerlessness so that we can receive and move from and live from the infinite power, which is the divine creatrix, which is the soul, which is this godly essence that we have access to. And then all of a sudden, it's also not anymore about I, me. It's about us. Because in this surrender and in this allowing of this intelligence and of this essence to express, you're not separate from another human being. You look another in the eyes and you feel your own essence. You meet people and you meet the love that we share. We share this essence. So that starts to shift and rotate everything inside you and how you see everything. I am sitting here with you every evening. I'm not asking for anything because I get to have the blessing of everything. I get to have the blessing of the sum total of the love that dwells within all of you. I get to have the blessing of the light that emanates out of all of you. I get to have the blessing of holding space for all of your humanity. It's a blessing for me. Why? Because when you receive, I receive, because nothing is separate. And as this is happening, as you start to recognize, whoa, I'm being bent down to my knees to let go of this fear, this running away, this hard shell, to meet this powerlessness so I can surrender the power to the infinite. And in that, connection is restored. Not that it was ever lost, but it's consciously restored. Love is consciously remembered. Peace is available. And none of these things have anything to do with the external. More often than not, the external falling to pieces in front of your eyes is the very thing that bends you to your knees and allows you to meet the powerlessness that then is the surrender into a higher power. And this is often the time where we don't want to be in this spiritualness, right? So you have people that want to meditate. Now they have the time and the space to meditate, to connect to their spirit. But then there's a money crisis, a marital crisis, a global crisis. And then it's like, yeah, but this is not the time for spirituality. No, that's backwards. This is exactly where you can start to access and anchor spirit. We don't have to call it spirituality, but it's easy to connect to love and light when you feel jolly, when life is going your way, when there's no challenge, right? But can we actually see the mechanism of life, which is in place to humble us into surrendering the personal power or the illusion of personal power and allowing the infinite power to open up? And this is why it is so beautiful when life happens. And I know it's so painful when life happens. I feel like I just came out of a 48-hour window of time where life just kept on happening. And boy, is it not easy when it's happening. But wow, can we connect with the truth that it ushers us into deeper levels of surrender and deeper places of connectivity and deeper spaces of presence. Because in the end of the day, when we are finally willing to fully give up on having life go our way, we actually are life itself consciously again, with all of the benefits that it comes with. No longer having to have a conversation with someone feeling afraid, feeling like you need to present something. No longer afraid of making decisions because from embodying the soul, every decision is the right one. You don't have to second guess life. You don't have to be in your head. You don't have to live in this tension-filled ways anymore. Okay, so if I don't know and I cannot create it, and if you truly surrender, then all of those layers fall away. Do we have the courage to let it? And can we recognize that life will keep on going until humanity lets it? And this is why I've been saying that I don't believe this is going to be the easiest 4-year window of time on any level for anybody. And it's in place because we have to surrender. We cannot keep going in the way we've been going. We've been destroying ourselves and each other and this planet. But what are you going to do? How are you going to use life? Are you going to recognize that life is peeling away all the layers to get you to the place where you feel powerless so that you can surrender and let something greater flow through you? Picking the fruits of that, experience-wise. Where a world is in chaos, you are in neutrality and calm. Where a world is afraid, you feel the safety of the love of your essence. Where the world is sad, you have so profoundly allowed your sadness that you can now cry tears of appreciation and gratitude. Why? Because you exist. Because you are existent. Because you're in connection with something eternal, something beautiful, something that allows you to see beyond the lens of yourself into this world. And that allows you to not just see the pain and the struggle of this world, which is actually a part of the personal lens, but you start to realize and see and perceive the infinite aspect in everything in this world. And this is the one that you came here to hold, that you came here to anchor. And you will not be able to do it unless you fully allow yourself to be a human being and to move through all of those layers that we've all been trying to be better than. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's just painful. And it's going to continue being painful until you let it go. So maybe today is the day. Maybe we can let it go. Starting to feel this movement of energy in your cells. Restoring harmony. And restoring harmony maybe is nothing else than allowing love. Allowing for love, allowing for softness. Also in your brain, allowing for the emergence of tenderness, of softness, of this movement of energy. Movement of energy in your brain, movement of energy in your body, movement of energy all around you. Seeing that there's no protecting, no defending here. There's nothing to fear here. It might sound strange, but surviving is definitely one thing that we will not do as human beings. We won't survive. We were never meant to. We're always meant to come and go as a finite expression. But how about we connect to the love that we are in the midst of that finite expression, and in that connect to the part that is eternal? I think it's a wonderful way to live. And again, no matter what flavor of being a human being you are in the presence of these days, I get it. It can hurt so much. But you are safe in it, and you can allow yourself to surrender. Feeling that movement expand. Whoop. Connecting to this infinite energy in your home. Starting to connect to people, objects, space, and seeing that everything is infinite. And expanding that into your neighborhood, into your country, into your continent, into the globe. And as you're expanded above this globe, it is clear that life is moving to show you where you have not surrendered yet, so that you can. life from surrender, the benevolent kind, not the whatever, not the pain-based kind, but the benevolent kind, feels so different than the life we felt we had to survive. And you are here to meet the powerlessness, because from there you can receive infinite power, infinite energy. Taking a breath. And on the exhale, start moving down through the layers of the earth, spotting your continent, your country, city, village, street, neighborhood, your house, your room, your body, and letting all of that energy fall through your crown, through your midline, into the pelvis, into the earth, anchoring yourself here. In this new version that recognizes that life is here to bend us to our knees, to make us meet this rock bottom vibrationally that we call powerlessness, because from there we can receive, because from there we can align, because from there we can actually step into this soulful manifestation of our expression. So no matter what is happening, I know it can hurt, I know it can feel crazy, but try to see if you can let the fear melt into the meaning of the rage, melt into the meaning of the powerlessness. Allowing life to strip away the shells that kept you from receiving, that kept you from surrendering. Because once you do, once you fully do, you will step into a whole different version of life and living. You can open the eyes, keeping the gaze soft, and slowly bringing our awareness all the way back. Thank you.